Titanic came after Apollo 13.
What is he in Titanic?
He's the ship,
Maybe.
the modern day ship captain.
I'm not buying it.
Telling the
Who takes
story.
the ancient, what's her name, Rose?
Yeah.
Out and she throws the.
You're thinking of Leonardo DiCaprio.
What are you talking
Give the diamond
about,
to charity.
What are you, some kind of like Titanic expert?
You don't know that Bill Paxton was in Titanic?
He wasn't
been
in Titanic.
82.
We've already
it,
established
Sam.
this.
Stop
Also,
it.
One more
So
Apollo
good.
13 fact before
Okay.
we start.
I'll allow it.
That movie came out in 1995, and then it's depicting events in 1970. So it's 25 years later. Now that movie came out
We're further
25
from
years ago.
Yeah.
The gap
Yeah.
between us and Apollo 13 is the same as the gap between the movie and the events it depicts.
So do you think we could produce a documentary about the making of the movie Apollo 13 and get it pretty accurate?
No.
But I'm pretty sure the whole Apollo 13 thing was faked. So,
Well,
there's that. Dan, are we rolling?
Why wasn't there a 14?
There's that.
Did he say yes? I don't even know.
I think so.
I think
Something
he's.
like that.
All right, here we go.
Sounded like Scooby-Doo when he talks.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to IGN Game Scoop. I'm your host, Damon Hatfield. Joining this week is Justin Davis,
Scoop.
Sam Claiborne,
Hey.
and CJ Gibson.
A lot of people have been asking. It stands for Cricket Jiminy.
Cricket,
Sure.
Jiminy.
that may
roll
sound
with it.
weird to
Yeah,
you.
all
but
right.
It's very common names in Canada.
I'll do it. I'll allow it.
We have a great show for you this week. We're going to talk about the first Nintendo 64 game coming to the Nintendo Switch. The answer might surprise you, or maybe not. You probably already heard the news. We're going to have our first E3 predictions from our friend Neil in Spain, as is tradition here on the show. He's not a professional in the industry. He's just a guy that listens to the show.
How many
Sends
years is
in,
this?
E3 predictions every year. This is the third year in a row he's done it.
Nice.
We're going to get to that.
One for each E.
But first, this discless Xbox One version.
Diskless.
I know.
Close up. Okay, thank you. Stop it, Dan.
Diskless.
Oh, CJ's.
Sam
CJ's already
just says he's
corpsing.
little. I know. Anyways, continue. Diskless.
Diskless Xbox One console
Saying that.
may be coming much sooner than we expected. Maybe as early as May, and it could be called the Xbox One S AllDigital Edition. It's just a really
There's a mouthful.
catchy title.
Exactly.
And these rumors come from Windows Central, by the way, I should mention some.
Yeah.
This is something that we talked about the next Xbox possibly being, or there'll be a version of it that would not play physical media. Does it surprise you that it would be happening to the Xbox One and that could be happening in 2 months?
Well, I have an update for you, Dan.
Okay, here we go.
On December 25th of last year, I started downloading Red Dead Redemption
Christmas Day.
Christmas Day
Yeah.
in Kansas
Yeah.
over whatever, DirecTV or
Has
whatever.
it finished yet?
No. And that is why it's bad to have a download-only console.
Well, but I do think like the name. People have been making fun of the
Thank
name
you,
for
yeah.
being so like wordy
Counterpoint.
and like
Yeah.
it just doesn't. You know, the Xbox One S all
Digital Edition.
Like how much more awkward name for a product could you get? But that does make it very clear. Like if you have slow internet, that it's not the console for you to buy.
Yeah.
So I do give them.
Well-
if this rumor's true, I think Microsoft is doing the right thing by giving it a name that so crystal clear explains.
I guess I wonder.
The naming conventions at Microsoft, though, let's just call it out there. Why was the Xbox One in general called the Xbox One?
Well, they really
that in
painted
and of
themselves into a
itself was
corner with that one for
mistake.
the next time around.
Exactly.
Well, what's great
So-
is that at first we were like, that's might be a silly name, and this might actually hurt the console. But then they did so many other things to hurt the console. Yeah, it just didn't matter anymore.
It didn't matter.
So now
right.
we accept the name, and I think it was a really good plan all along.
I think this is great.
Let's bring Kinect back.
Exactly.
I tend to agree with you, but I want to get back to the name. I don't know that like all digital means anything to the general consumer.
No.
I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but like I'm thinking about like my sister who has 5 kids. If she wanted to get an Xbox, does all
you think
digital
people will be confused?
Does
in the
all
store?
digital mean anything to her? I don't know.
Also, does GameStop want to sell this console? Because
Yeah.
every
They
single
can't
one
sell another
sold,
game.
Yeah,
every single
exactly.
one sold, it's a customer that's never going to walk into their store again.
Yeah.
Doug, would you like 500 gift cards?
That
Yeah.
sucks.
Well, and you said that. We were on the episode where you were talking about that, going like, oh, yeah, I didn't get a chance. Like, I think it's a bad idea. But X and S and all these different branding and titles, like, I don't know, like, why is an X an X and why is an S an S? Like, if you think about that just in and of itself, that doesn't make any sense to me.
No,
Even the
I think S stands for smaller.
Slim.
right?
Yeah, I
no,
think-
smaller.
smaller.
Well, I just think iPhone started that
Yeah,
sort of
iPhone R,
convention,
SX
yeah.
Max. iPhone's been doing it too. Yeah, it's been terrible. I don't know that you get, like, when you say that name, like, I can't even remember what it is. Say it again for me.
Xbox One S All Digital Edition.
Okay.
Just remember,
It's
it's
diskless.
just sad.
Yeah, but to me, that's what you need to say
Why
at
didn't they
the
call
end
it
of
the
that.
Xbox One S All Diskless Edition?
Exactly. Like, and even then, you're like, okay, what's the feature? It doesn't have the disk drive. Is it cheaper? Well,
Well, that it's supposed to be.
yeah, well, that's
whole
the
thing.
point, right?
It's gonna be
But-
pretty cheap and small, and that's why.
If
I like
it's
it.
below, I mean, it could be cheaper than a Nintendo Switch.
The Xbox
Yeah.
One S is frequently on sale for like $199. So this could be like a very cheap.
Maybe it's 150.
Could be a very cheap point of entry.
Now,
to
I have
understand.
some good news for you. If you already have an Xbox One, that's also all digital because
because it does
Well,
both.
compact discs are a digital medium.
But it's not all digital. Well, okay, all right.
But this is my point.
Well,
like,
I
it is
mean-
absolutely all digital. It's
Yeah.
all digital plus the CD drive.
Have you guys ever
It's a-
seen the last analog-based video thing called a video disc? It's this cartridge like bigger than an LP, and it uses a stylus to play a movie.
Ooh,
when was this?
Like 1978.
LPs are records for the kids at home.
And they
Long
look
play.
like records, but they're bigger and they're just like huge
It's
format.
bigger than 12 inches.
Yeah, it's like maybe 20 inches by 12 inches. It's like this giant rectangle, and it played a movie on a stylus. But the cool thing was, as if that wasn't cool enough. Well, it looks like
Continue.
garbage for one thing. But because of that format, like the art was the full movie poster. Like huge.
Cool.
So like when you look through them in like thrift stores or whatever, they're like beautiful. Like Jaws looks amazing on it because it's like the full poster and stuff. And that is your history lesson about stylus-based media today.
There it is.
Analog edition.
The all analog edition of GameScoop. Look, please be excited for that in the future.
And I just want to point out the tape I know is also a digital thing, but I was pointing out.
That's true.
Yeah.
So, like Justin, I do think it's smart if this is a cheap entry. You know, maybe you already have a PlayStation 4. This is like a really easy way to get into all of the Xbox Game Pass.
Cheap and small and silent. It can come with Game Pass. It's going to give you a library of games.
Yeah.
It's great.
But Sam's not sold. CJ, how do you feel about it?
I'm kind of in the same boat as Sam. I mean, it really depends on where you're at. I think that, you know, in California here, obviously a non-issue. I would buy that for portability. Like, I bought a PlayStation Slim because it's small and I can travel with it. Xbox really doesn't have anything that's super portable. So if it's smaller, like physically, I would be down for that because
good point.
because I buy a lot of my games digitally. I have kids. I buy the game once. I can install it and share it in that space. So that's really good. So I'd be down for that.
There's an opportunity to start a service where people send us their Xbox One S all digital edition, and then we download games on our fast internet, and then
Send
mail,
back.
mail it.
It's a new
back.
business
go.
we can start.
There you go. But yeah, I mean, you have to have an internet connection 9 times out of 10 to play most of the games anyway. So I hear you from the initial download
Most
standpoint.
CJ games.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
listen, have you played Apex yet? We haven't done that for
Listen,
you.
the
No, you
only
never
game I
signed up?
played yesterday was Turok 2 on Nintendo 64.
Okay, there you
We
go.
did play
We'll get
Turok
to
2 on N64 yesterday.
Rescued a child.
We rescued one child. There are 3 other children out there still waiting.
No. But yeah, I mean, that's fair. But to download, I guess, and have like a download queue in progress and all the rest of that stuff, even if with slow internet, I mean, the games are big, but you have to usually have an internet connection to play most games now. Maybe not to the capacity of like, you know, online games like we used to, but they need to check in, right? They need to tap in.
I think
for-
that pisses people off, though.
But
You shouldn't have to do that.
maybe not, but my point is if you're going to basically benefit from some of the services. Like, I have my Xbox and PlayStation set up so that, yeah, I can download a game and I don't need to buy multiple. Like, I can't tell you how many times I've bought a CD for a game and it's broken within the first like 4 or 5 months. And now
What's broken?
like the discs, they get scratched, or because I have kids, right? They're taking the discs out.
I like how I'm nodding along, and these two are like, "What?"
Disc is broken?
You're like, huh?
Yeah,
I was like,
my
yeah.
daughter's favorite thing to do
All
on
the
this
time.
earth is to open the drawer in our entertainment center and
Bing.
just throw stuff everywhere.
Yeah, and how many times have you even like brushed up against your Xbox and
Yeah.
magically the thing
If
turns
you just
on
look at
or
it,
like
it's like,
ejects. Yeah, and
You want to play Xbox?
No,
man.
it's there.
Just walking by.
But
Have you ever? Do you remember in the Xbox 360 era, there's a thing where if you knocked over your Xbox or if you tilted it or if you changed the position while the disc was in
bad.
it actually cut this groove around the
was-
disc.
it was
I had to
really
like
bad.
repair, Rock Band or whatever at
Yeah.
the time using one of those stupid like wax repairs.
yeah, no, it was brutal.
When you mentioned that, you just reminded me. I had a dream last night. In my dream, I was like being prepped for E3 for like Microsoft's stuff, and like I think their big push for E3 this year is they had a new version of Rock Band, and it was Dolly Parton.
Dream Scoop.
Oh,
It was Rock Band Dolly Parton.
there it is.
Probably not.
Could
one
be
of
a
those
thing.
Dreams that's going to come
Out
true.
of all the rock
Could be a
bands that
thing.
they've done, that's by far the best
Yeah,
artist.
that's what they need to do.
Would play. Would play.
would play.
Yeah.
So the timing of the Xbox One S all digital edition, if this is true, in May is a little strange to me. They are expected to reveal the next Xbox at E3. Why would they introduce new hardware right before that?
So the iteration thing.
It is the Game Pass thing.
Yeah.
It's got, it's a gigantic push for them. That's the future of Xbox.
Yeah.
Yeah, it feels like also a soft launch in a way, getting people ready. If,
Yeah.
if the new one is
that. There is that.
diskless,
There is that.
right?
If they're planning to do that, for
No
the
one's
next
ever
Xbox
done
too.
that before,
Yeah.
where a console, obviously the Switch doesn't have discs, but it has carts, right? So no one's made like a big AAA console from one of the big companies that was digital only. So it's a fairly low risk way for them to just be like, just to sort of prime that pump.
Yeah, but the implications, I think, for retail and disc delivery and all the rest of that stuff, I've tried to, anyways. I think that they're selling, like even Fortnite. Fortnite doesn't have a retail copy disc, but it sells like a SKU in the store that you pick up, and then it
comes with the download code and
yeah,
some
and then you
extra-
Do you know how many parents? I don't actually think Epic did something wrong, but a lot of people complain that there's Fortnite all over the shelves of Walmart, Target, GameStop.
Yeah.
And then parents that just don't know any better are buying it. But all you're
Absolutely.
buying, the only thing that's inside is a code to
Yeah.
get some skins and V-Bucks and garbage.
Epic Games can't afford to print discs.
But
They're not
from-
making
What would
much
be
money.
on it?
exactly, but
The
that's
game.
that's what I mean.
No.
Like from a digital delivery standpoint, you kind of don't need it, And I think retailers are really scared. I think like GameSpot and these other places are super afraid of that
Stop.
happening. Or GameStop, thank you.
The biggest
GameSpot's gonna be
games
terrible.
on Earth overwhelmingly are digital only.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. All right,
Also
we
true.
will see in the next couple months if the Xbox One S all digital edition is real. Moving on, that first Nintendo 64 game coming to Switch is, of course, Turok. A remastered edition of Turok will be out on Switch in, like a week or so. It's like March 18th.
Did you notice they're not calling it Turok the Dinosaur Hunter?
It's just Turok now?
Yeah.
So this is a version of the game that was remastered a couple years ago by another developer, and it's already on Steam and Xbox, actually. Now it's coming to Switch, which makes sense. It began its life on a Nintendo platform.
Yeah.
We played Turok 2, the original, yesterday, like we were saying, and that is a clunky experience to
It
try and
looked
play
pretty good, though.
today.
It did look good.
Like,
When
it
was
had good
this?
lighting.
When was the last time you've played it? Like prior to that?
I had never
I had
played
never
it.
played 2. I thought I
okay.
did going into it, but it was probably 1 and 3 that I played.
Two is really good. 1 is notorious for just being really soupy and slow, and you
fog.
could only
Yeah.
see the fog. You could only see right in front of your face.
But it was a big hit. Even
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It was fairly early in the Nintendo 64's lifespan.
Cycle, yeah.
There weren't other first-person shooters to play. It was before GoldenEye.
Do you think? Here's what I want to do. Do you remember how Acclaim they had they named a kid Turok?
Oh, well,
That was their
there
big
was
contest.
a controversy about that. It was in the UK, and I don't know that it ever actually happened. There
They're
was a
having some-
contest. They were offering $10,000 for a couple to name their newborn Turok.
I'm sure we're not still in your dream.
I think someone. My memory is that did
guy
come
got
to
fired.
pass. Anyway, the whole point is I want to find that person and interview them.
Well,
Great.
Turok.
should be easy to Google that name.
Turok would
Exactly.
be 22 years old today.
Parents
Turok Murphy.
regretted it ever since.
Yeah, Turok was an Acclaim game. And so Turok is a character from the comics from the 50s. Valiant Comics brought him back in the early 90s.
Oh, that's cool. I didn't know that.
Acclaim
I only knew
bought
Valiant.
Acclaim owned
bought Valiant Comics.
Yeah,
And it was
actually-
like Acclaim Comics.
I know all
I
about
saw
this
the
because
Acclaim
I've been
comics
reading
today.
Valiant Comics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really, I never knew that they had their own label. So then they had this Turok character, this property, and then they hired Iguana Games to make Turok. Iguana Games made Arrow the Acrobat
Yeah.
and Zero the Kamikaze Squirrel.
And then the creator of Iguana Games, or the head of Iguana Games, is now making the Mutant Muds games.
Mutant Buds.
Eric told us yesterday. The best thing about Iguana Games is that when you turn on Turok,
There's like a 30-second logo animation.
that's not an exaggeration. It might be longer than that. You watch so what happens? An iguana
There's a
comes on
logo.
the screen. There's a logo.
And an
iguana comes up.
is chilling on top of the iguana logo.
And you just think it's going to move on to the game from there. No.
A volley of arrows is shot at the iguana,
Yeah.
and he jumps down to hide behind the logo.
Yeah.
We're 10
Then he
seconds
pops
in.
up with 2 machine guns. He's dual wielding machine guns.
Okay.
Not over yet.
He shoots at you, the player, shoots you several times.
But Damon, is he still an iguana?
Yeah, well, but he's kind of like a dinosaur iguana now.
He's a dragon.
Yeah, more like a
it.
dragon. The screen turns red. You fall backwards as if you've just been killed by the iguana mascot.
Those very
The game has
elaborate,
yet started.
That's the intro.
the elaborate
Gotcha.
opening splash screens used to be a thing. Like Conker was messing with the N64 logo, and there's like Vector Man where you could
used to be
shoot the
Never
Sega
the
logo
bendy
and-
N64 Rare logo. I'd walk out with
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Was he also like? Did they do a version of NBA Jam that had him on the front? I feel like they're.
iguana?
Yeah, I feel like they
Probably.
brought a port.
They might have done a port of
I think
NBA
they
Jam.
might have. I remember an iguana spinning a basketball in his
Do you
fingers.
think was that just because?
And then he pulled out 2 machine guns.
and then
Do
you
you think
die.
it's because game developers just hadn't figured out? Like it took another couple of years for someone to be like, "Nah, just let people skip this," or was that like masking?
It's usually
some
the
sort of
best
loading
graphics in the entire game.
Yes.
It always looks
Speaking
best.
of, you can't skip the cutscenes in Turok 2.
Yeah.
It's crazy. They go on forever, and you can't skip them.
But since it's
Maybe
a
that's
cart,
one of the new bullet points they added into the game.
Maybe.
surely since it's a
Skippable
cart game,
cutscenes.
it's not masking a loading time, so they
wouldn't
just
think
hadn't.
so,
They're just
yeah.
like, nah. Should we
They
let
never
people
even
skip
thought
these?
there.
Nope.
Why would they want to skip them? We've put all
Worked
this
so
time
hard.
building
Yeah.
up these story cutscenes for people to watch.
So did not play good was the moral of the story.
No,
It
it was good
not-
for its era.
No
but
play
it's-
good.
No play
Not
good.
today.
Yeah.
There's I like to watch speedruns. And whenever there's a game that has unskippable cutscenes, and one of my favorite things to do is watch a speedrunner. Just some of the life drains out of them.
Well, those could be a
every single
bathroom
time.
break.
Yeah, that can be part of it, but just like they're just always like mashing the button furiously, like come
Maybe
on,
this
come
time.
on.
Right, yeah.
Maybe this time it'll skip.
And it's like that's your 200th time watching this.
So Turok is coming to Switch, and then the sort of product page on Nintendo's website has all the bullet points from the original Turok release from the back of the box. So I want to share these with you because they're pretty good. So in Turok, for the Nintendo Switch, you get to explore a completely 3D virtual world. Cool. Run, jump, climb in any direction in a fully 3D world with the ability to independently look and aim your weapons up, down, or sideways.
So that's why we call Breath of the Wild a Turok-like now.
That's
I just
true.
wanna point that out. Or Turok-vania is usually what we call it.
There are intelligent enemies programmed for ferocity.
It's some
You
marketing.
know what
They
was
run the-
amazing about Turok 2, though, is that the death animations were super funny.
Yeah.
For the
They're
dino-
great.
Yeah.
It was like you'd kill something and it would get on its back and like wiggle its legs in the air and stuff.
Variable
Just turn into fog.
Variable aggression profiles make each enemy behave uniquely. There are 14 monstrous high-tech weapons,
Yeah, they had
from the
the-
grenade launcher, plasma pulse rifle, an alien weapon, to the quad rocket launcher, and the mother of all guns, the atomic fusion cannon.
Why didn't they list the cerebral bore?
I think
That's
that was in
two.
2.
Oh, right.
There are advanced interactive backgrounds with particle technology, cobwebs sway, bubbles form rings on the water's surface, bullets ricochet, trees explode into flames and crash to the ground,
good.
waterfalls boil with foam.
I don't know that any of that's actually.
If that happens there.
Well, if it happens in those frames between, because you see like 3 frames
That's
for
true.
everything moving.
Yeah, that's true.
3 frames per second.
There are bionically engineered dinosaurs.
Sure.
Yeah.
Naturally.
So they're not.
Which, I mean, just to make a video game, it's kind of it's a little bit overboard, I think, to have created some sort of
Yeah.
biologically engineered dinosaurs. But
Razor,
they had to do it.
Razor-toothed raptors, artillery-packing triceratops, alien infantry, and a laser-guided T-Rex following your every move with head-tracking technology.
What's that?
The dinosaurs are tracking your head? Is that what's happening?
How
Yeah, that's a
small
little
was the
confusing.
print on this? Is it on the box or where was this again?
Just like the bullet
This
points.
is now
that
it's on
shipped with
the product page on
Okay.
the website. But yeah, this
In
is from-
2019, this is the description of the game.
Dear God.
not a joke.
Wow. Okay.
Head tracking technology is something we actually talk about now with phones.
Well, I don't know what they mean in this
So,
context.
but like that wasn't even a term back then. That's what's kind of interesting to hear that.
Did they mean like the direction you were just facing in the game? Clearly.
I don't know. They're
I
talking
think
about
the dinosaur
like
wants to
aim
bite
They
assist?
say
your
you're
head,
following
so
your
it
every
can
move.
track
So
it.
I think the enemies are programmed to follow your head, to track your head.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
because they want to eat it.
They want to eat your head.
All right.
Checks
Brains. Turok hit Switch March 18th, $20.
$20.
$20.
Well, so yeah, where you were going with this is why Turok?
Well,
Why is that the lead game?
because it's already been
No, this isn't part of
remastered
like
and-
any system. Like it's not part of a virtual console or anything like that.
I know, but it's still really weird.
It's just somebody has the
Well, like I
license
said,
and they
it's
wanna-
already available on PC and Xbox. Why not port it to Switch? It's just the only.
Yes. Yeah, that seems normal now. I mean,
But it is
Microsoft's coming
like,
to Switch, right?
Are there any other Nintendo 64 games on Switch right now?
Nope, that's the first one. That's the only one.
Isn't that weird?
it is.
Yes.
So Nintendo hasn't done that at all. But
Yeah.
Turok, you know,
Yeah.
they broke down some barriers with that.
Still seems weird.
Yeah. Dude.
CJ can't get over it.
No, I mean, well, because even with playing GoldenEye, when you go back and play those games, like that's where I was going, they don't really hold up that well. Like I'm interested to see what this actually plays.
Wait till you
like
see
even
this
on Switch.
iguana.
Put Donkey Kong 64 on Switch, you cowards.
There you go.
Ooh, people don't like Donkey Kong 64.
Put it on the Switch.
Put it there.
I know one person that likes Donkey Kong 64.
Yeah, and he's not here anymore. So what does that tell you?
Yeah, it's not good.
Moving on. Wargroove, another Nintendo Switch game. It's available on other platforms, but I played it on Switch.
Advanced Warsvania.
Advanced Warsvania, a game I need to get back to and finish, but there's been a big update for that game that fixes a lot of the issues that people had with it. Introduces a checkpoint system, which is very nice, right? Because the battles are very
Yeah,
long.
dude.
Why is that so funny?
Just thinking about the last segment still.
About Turok?
Yeah. We just talked about Turok for a long time.
Couple more bullet points
It's from the
there.
news this week.
Scoop.
Yeah.
My hands are tied.
All right.
Look, everyone understood what they were getting into when they started listening to this show. Anybody that's still with us.
We need to go audio only.
This is a video
Can't
game.
do this anymore.
This is a video game news podcast. Turok was in the news this week. What am I supposed to do?
Not talk about it. Damon's hands are tied.
IGN now.
I'm just happy this is the last time any of us will ever have to shave.
It's not much holding me back. About it.
Sam, people want to see your mustache. I don't know if you've seen those
I've
comments,
said
bro.
before, people are going to be able to hear if the mustache is still there.
Is it better for me to say I've seen those comments or not?
I mean, just acknowledge that you know exactly what everybody's talking about.
I don't know. What
You know exactly what you're doing with that mustache.
what you're doing to us all?
That's beautiful. Yeah, I mean,
He's
people are
asking
going to
for it.
miss it.
the corduroy jacket?
Yeah, absolutely.
I'll just have to describe it from here on out.
All right.
Can we skip the next topic?
You want to skip Wargroove just because you haven't played it?
Well, because the next one we're going to talk about is Turok 2, right?
No, we're not going to talk about Turok 2 until it's announced to be coming.
Can't flip.
Until it's announced to be coming to
They
Switch.
need to see.
Then we'll talk about that.
All right. Wargroove. What
Let's
is this
spend a
game?
second talking about Wargroove.
Yeah.
Justin and I have played it. Sam and CJ have
I have
not.
not.
All right.
I'm not.
We'll see you guys in 5. You need 15?
20?
No,
What I
that's
like,
long.
what I like about
points.
these patch notes is just the conversation. It's like you, me pair are all like into this game.
Yeah.
And like,
And Tom
man,
likes.
this game's great. We really love it. Like, but there's just like 5 or 6 things. Like, I wish it had checkpoints, and I wish like the animations were a little bit faster, you know. And I wish like your big thing was the effectiveness chart.
Yep.
And like they just like their patch notes, like it's like they had a microphone in our office, which maybe we should check that they
Yeah,
do.
actually, I have Pablo scour every nook and cranny of the
They're
office
listening.
to make sure Chucklefish is not listening to what we're talking
We
about.
just had these like 5 or 6 nitpicky things. Like if only they'd fix these tiny things. And like for once, the developers seem to have their pulse on like their community so accurately that they just fixed every single one. I'm like,
Yeah.
wow.
So the big thing is that battles are very long, and then if you there's no way to like add a checkpoint so that if you fail later on you can restart your.
You have to restart the whole
battle.
mission if you fail at the
But
end.
they added the checkpoint. They added 2 or 3 easier difficulty modes, right, which is a little unusual.
Wait, so you can reload a checkpoint and just play from there?
Now you can.
You can just save. You
I
can
mean,
save.
that's
your
a
game.
big difficulty decrease already.
Exactly. And then each unit has this effectiveness chart to show which units they're like strong against and weak against. But it was like impossible to tell what was what. It's like
not very legible.
Yeah. And now they've
And now it just kind of shows
now
you.
they fixed that, made it more legible.
So now that they fix those, do you have 5 more that you're hoping they fix?
5 more nitpicks.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Yeah.
Now
A
they've
few
done.
more?
They've
One.
done. Now it's the perfect game.
It's done? 10 out of 10?
I want to get back to it. But as Justin was pointing out, it is just a little odd that they worked on this game for years and then they're like, all right, we're finished with it. We're going to release it. But then there are all these issues that people have.
Yeah.
Like, oh, well, I guess we weren't quite. It's like, why didn't any of these things occur
Like
to them?
after you worked on the game for years and years, maybe just wait. But at some point, you just got to get it in people's hands. Right?
Yeah, I guess so.
Get it
But like,
in
don't
hands.
they do focus testing? Did none of these people say, you know, a checkpoint system would be really nice?
Yeah. I feel like that's what gamers are a little bit enraged with. I mean, you've played Mass Effect, or sorry,
Anthem?
Oop,
Were you
Anthem.
talking about Anthem
Yeah,
now?
I mean, sorry to do that, but yeah, it is one of those things where I think people feel like this happens a lot right now with gaming, and people are getting a little frustrated. So
Wargroove doesn't quite fit into that category, or doesn't fit into that category at all. But
they
it's
just didn't feel like breaking things.
Fairly small team, and they even delayed the game to say we want to add more stuff to it. And then it comes out and it's great. Like, it got totally good reviews. I think we gave it a 8.5, which is great, which is a review I completely agree with.
8.5.
But then, yeah, it's like there's these 5 or 6 things that are not like crazy outlandish suggestions. They're like, oh yeah, that totally makes sense. And now, lo and behold,
Wargroove is not as good as Turok, though.
well,
Is it a
on the
masterpiece?
IGN scale?
Is it a masterpiece now that it's been fixed?
Wargroove?
No, probably not a masterpiece.
Okay.
It might bump it up from great to amazing.
Maybe.
0.5.
CJ,
That's a 9.
Have you been playing Anthem?
No, it's weird. I've heard Sam's take on it. I've been like, weirdly enough, that's detracted me some of the conversations about that stuff because
I don't think that's weird.
Yeah,
at all.
I am the multiplayer expert in your life. So that does make sense.
No, but my point is, I was initially, when we talked about it, I was kind of hyped for it. I played it at E3. I felt like the feeling of flying was good, but that's not what the objective of the game is. The objective of the game is like shooting and grinding and loop, and there's a lot of things that are broken with the game. Yeah, it's a little bit like Destiny, but like it's not playing well. So I'm like, nah, it's a game that I might hit next year or in like 6 months they have a DLC. But
And then, Sam, since you gave up on Anthem, have you been playing anything else?
Well, Turok 2.
Turok 2, yeah. That's a big one.
Star Wars Pinball.
oh, there you go. I've seen that.
I think they're new, 3 new Williams pinball tables.
Yeah, there's a new pack with like Champion Pub, which is a really fun game.
We talked about all that digital pinball drama, I think, when it went down on Scoop.
I think it all got sorted out, though, right?
Well, it's
No,
it's
the
that the
license
one
switched
company,
hands.
yeah, Switch. It's now Zen Pinball has the license to the best games.
And they're still available.
And I wrote an article about which ones are
They're
the
being
best ones.
re-released slowly over.
Yeah, and because I think they have to remake them. They're all digital versions, People like the Zen platform a lot, though. I think compared to Pinball Arcade,
I like the platform.
I like 'em both.
I don't like the physics as much. They bother me.
I think Pinball Arcade felt great.
Yeah.
I don't see how much better it can be, but
Zen
try it
Pinball
out.
feels a little heavy. The ball feels a little bit heavy and sticky too.
Let's check in with the listeners.
Hey,
Listeners.
Listeners, remember, you can always reach us at the email address gamescoop@ign.com, just like our friend Neil from Spain is. And he's here with his annual E3 predictions. Once again, Neil is not a professional games media.
The emphasis
Writer?
we place on that is a little.
He's just a guy who listens to this show, and every year he sends in his E3 predictions. And
well, he's had 3 years to get with it and get a job in the industry.
I sort of went through and did some editing because they were very thorough, and
Okay.
I cherry picked some of the more interesting ones, I think.
That's fine.
Yeah, so we're not going to go through all of them.
I'll allow it.
But he begins with Bethesda. He believes Doom Eternal will be given a fall 2019 release date. That they'll also release a Rage 1 Definitive Edition for all consoles. That one I don't know. I don't know that people are really clamoring to play Rage 1 again.
Well, I mean, Rage 2 looks really cool.
Yes.
But Rage 1 in some ways is more of a liability than
Maybe, yeah.
Like maybe they don't want to remind people of like that game that had kind of a mixed reception.
Yeah. He thinks there'll be a Fallout 3 and New Vegas remastered for all consoles.
Maybe.
Well,
I don't know.
that would be really fun.
That would be really fun. I'd play it.
Interesting.
He thinks there'll be an Evil Within spin-off announced, similar to Dishonored Death of the Outsider. Has been 2 years since there's been an Evil Within something. And then he thinks their conference will end with a Starfield release window of 2020, but no gameplay or trailer. I don't know that they would come back to... Remember that game, Starfield, we briefly mentioned last year?
I thought
It'll
you
be
said-
out in 2020.
What did you cut out? That was so specific.
I cut out a lot.
Okay. I like this.
I think notably absent from there is they're not going to give up on Fallout 76. They'll
Yes.
lay out a
Oh,
whole
yeah. They need
plan
to, like,
for their
yeah.
DLC and
Yeah.
the improvements they're going to make and all that.
Yeah, that needs to be like, I think, front and center number one. I don't think that they could even continue with any of that without bringing Fallout 76 at the front of the conference.
I wonder, like, there's a strategy to how conferences sort of like you need to have something big and flashy and like exciting up front, and then you sort of sandwich your thing in the middle that people don't care quite as much about, and then you end with like the big hype beast game. So I think Fallout 76 will be the meat in their sandwich.
He also misses Wolfenstein Youngblood,
Yeah,
which is still coming. And then
just forgot about Wolfenstein Youngblood.
they announced Elder Scrolls 6 last year.
Yeah.
Will there be any mention of that
But
this
that's
year?
coming after Starfield. That game's like 6 years away. Unless, Fallout 76 has caused them to like change their plans. They were very upfront about like that game is years and years.
Well,
and years away.
they specifically called it out as a next gen game.
Exactly. Yeah. So
Really the only one that we have confirmed for the next generation of platforms.
But surely they would mention either Starfield or Elder Scrolls. Or not? No? You don't think so?
I don't think so.
we talked about just with Apex Legends, the hype train. The hype train, I think that I don't know if like people should lean into that. And I know that's what E3 is for, but I think that's actually damaged a lot of developers in the last couple of years. I think people lean away from that.
That's what Bethesda, Fallout 4 was, revealed at E3 and released that fall.
Yeah.
And Fallout 76 was the same, for better or worse. That's sort of their thing.
Yeah.
Neil's next section is for EA, which we just found out today. EA is not going to have a press conference this year.
Boo earns.
But they are going to be doing their EA Play event, and they're going to be doing some live streams of
They're doing more of like a Nintendo Treehouse
deep dives
style.
into games.
Yeah.
My question is, I know they do have stuff that they need to announce. When and how do they announce this stuff?
Yeah.
So they're going to have Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. That's going to be announced at Star Wars Celebration.
Revealed there.
Or officially revealed at Star Wars Celebration next month. So they don't really need to announce that at E3. But we know from their financial earnings calls, they're going to have a Need for Speed and a Plants vs. Zombies something this year. I assume it's Plants vs. Zombies Garden Warfare 3. So it's like, if they're going to be showing those games off at E3, when do they announce them and how?
Yeah.
That's kind of a question mark for me.
Yeah, like are there just going to be like press releases at 8 a.m.?
Yeah, exactly. Sea of Solitude is a game they showed off last year. That's still, we're waiting on a release date for that one. And then Dragon Age.
Yeah, they did announce it 12 months ago.
Yeah. But if they don't have a conference, like I don't think it's not coming out this year, so it's like
No.
it's not going to be playable. So without a conference, without some sort of forum to like debut a new trailer, I don't know.
They may want to wait and do a special Dragon Age thing. Find some day where Dragon Age can have the news cycle to itself.
Yeah. All right, Microsoft. Neil from Spain's predictions for Microsoft. New Xbox console announced and shown. It's called the Xbox 4. Don't know about that?
No.
Releasing February 2020. Less than a year.
Ooh.
Yeah.
It'll have backwards compatibility with all Xbox titles from day one. Gears 5 will be shown. Gears Pop and Tactics also shown. Yeah, remember those?
Yep.
Both of those were announced, all three, but Pop and Tactics were announced at E3 last year. There hasn't been anything about them since then.
Yeah, that's interesting.
He thinks there'll be a Gears 2 Ultimate Edition announced as a launch title for Xbox 4. So it just seems, why 2?
You know why they
Exactly.
can't do Xbox
they
4
already
is
did
because
one.
there's a PlayStation 5. coming out.
Exactly.
It's just like they're never going to be able
That's
to do
been the
that. I think
eternal
that's why
Xbox problem. That's why they
just
never know what to name their console.
They just can't do it. But they could just call it
Infinite.
Xbox 5.
Infinite. So
Just skip 4. PlayStation 5,
man.
Xbox 5.
I mean, that would allow the One X would allow them to do that, right?
but
But
even
that would allow
that's
PlayStation
so
to put out the
stupid.
PlayStation 6.
Yeah, that's so stupid. They're behind.
Xbox
Exactly.
X.
It's stupid.
Xbox Infinite. They should have
Being
named the
behind
last
is
one.
not a real thing, right?
Yeah.
Xbox 4 All Digital Edition.
Yeah.
I mean, that would make the most sense.
Fable 4 announced from Playground Games. Which one is Playground?
I don't know. That's very
No,
again,
Playground
very
is
oddly specific.
they're the Forza developer that we know they have a second team now.
Oh, because they
We know
they're
based
good
off,
at open worlds. I remember that.
based off either hiring, we either know they're making a fantasy open world game or just an open world game. I can't recall the rumor specifics, but they had some job listings where they were hiring action
I remember all that.
RPG.
And their open
expertise.
worlds look so cool too. Like they would be good at making it look good at least.
Yeah.
It is true that we need to know what these the games that the studios that Microsoft has purchased, what they're working
I
on.
think that's a very, very plausible rumor.
What Justin? Phantom Dust reboot re-announced from Compulsion Games. We have a few.
So the thing about Phantom Dust, and as like the world's biggest Phantom Dust fan, is they released that. It's not quite accurate to call it a remaster, but they they like the up-res version. It's not a remaster because it's just the original game. They're like, here's the original game. Download it, play it. It now works on your modern console. And I honest to God think that was their like test bed of like, what do the download numbers look like? How many people are excited about this and energized by it? Yeah. I think that was their sort of dipping their toes into Phantom Dust, and I don't think that port did make much of a splash. So as much as I wish we were getting a Phantom Dust 2,
Does he think Viva Pinata's coming back?
Unlikely.
He doesn't mention Viva Pinata. He thinks there'll be more Cuphead DLC. It's a shadow drop. It's available now.
Yeah.
The game's 2 years old though. So
Rare's going back to Viva Pinata, Rare's definitely working on something. So
yeah. He thinks Xbox will get Kingdom Hearts 1.5 and 2.5, which I guess would be possible because 3 is the first one to come to Xbox. Splinter Cell revealed.
Why them? Why Microsoft and not Ubisoft?
Why not?
Counterpoint.
GTA 4 10th Anniversary Edition announced. I think we missed the 10th anniversary of GTA 4.
Maybe not in Spain.
Maybe not in Spain.
As like a remaster?
Halo Reach coming to Master Chief Collection.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that.
Yeah.
And he thinks it'll end with Halo Infinite gameplay.
And don't worry too much about the fact that Master Chief is not in Halo Reach.
Don't worry about
Well,
it.
he actually is.
Spoilers.
What? Is he?
I
When?
mean,
Yeah.
Why are you being all coy? Like that game is 10 years old. You can spoil it.
I mean, he's in it. You see Master Chief in the game.
When?
It's right at the end when you are leaving the planet and like you're on a ship and you can like pan over and like he's in his
half a
cryo thing.
second.
Oh, what?
All right.
Well, you can either be correct or you can be incorrect.
Not playable.
Ubisoft will have Skull and Bones again.
Yeah.
That's going to be out this year. Neil from Spain thinks there's going to be Assassin's Creed 1 remastered.
Nah, there's a lot of rumors about. So there's Origins and Odyssey are, ancient Egypt and ancient Greece, and then there's strong rumors that the third one is ancient Rome, and that reboot, that Origins, was pitched as like a trilogy of like, let's go back in time to the very beginning of Assassins and make these 3 games, and so I think we're probably going to see the Roman Empire. And that dovetails with the Assassin's Creed. I think it's Legion rumors we've heard.
Watch Dogs 3 revealed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Strong rumors about that one too.
He thinks it'll be coming this year as well.
I agree.
Then he thinks Ubisoft's conference will end with a Rayman 4 announcement. That's
I
a
wish.
Switch exclusive.
Oh.
Is that the number we're on? The official count of Rayman?
We'll also probably hear about they're the only company to get games as a service, right? So we'll get Rainbow Six season 3 or 4, whatever news they're on. We'll see if they're going to continue with For Honor.
Yeah, Division 2 will be out. They'll be like talking a little bit more about the
There's
roadmap
actually
for
more.
that.
There's a whole other season of Assassin's Creed Origins DLC too.
Oh man.
No music games in there.
Well,
Interesting.
I mean, they'll have Just Dance
Yeah.
again.
Well, he didn't predict
What's
that.
up with their pirate game?
That's Skull and Bones.
Oh, that's what. Okay, we've talked about it. Yeah.
And finally, Nintendo, of course, they'll have Pokemon Sword and Shield, new Pokemon and features. Detective Pikachu HD. Is that already been announced, or is that
The problem with that is that Detective Pikachu is coming out in theaters, but very few people played the 3DS game.
Yeah.
And
So
it's
an
like
HD version
the
for
plot is
Switch.
directly based on the game.
I think it's very plausible.
Thinks we'll get a Luigi's Mansion 3 release date, which will be this October. Sure, makes sense. Super Mario Maker 2 showcase, Metroid Prime Trilogy HD announced.
People keep talking about that. I mean, there's some issues with that. You know, they the last time they did a trilogy, they made them all Wii controller enabled. So, and then one of them has only been Wii controller enabled. So they'd have to walk 3 back to being controller based.
I think it's very likely. I think it's almost a certainty at some point before 4 comes out, but we'll see when they want to do it.
He thinks GTA 5, Metal Gear Solid 5, Dark Souls 2 will all be ported to Switch.
Juicy.
This year.
Wow.
GTA 5.
Maybe.
I mean,
Would
that's
people buy it again on Switch?
yes.
Yeah.
I would think we
Portable?
would get Red Dead before that.
Oh,
To
Red Dead's
Switch?
not
Red Dead 1 or
possible,
2?
I think.
Like
2 is
Probably
impossible. 2 is impossible.
no.
2's impossible.
It could be. It's just like you can scale stuff down. You know.
I don't know.
Yeah.
And he thinks there'll be 2 3DS games. Metal Gear Solid Twin Snakes coming to 3DS as the last 3DS game.
GTA 5 on Switch is really juicy. I
That
like
is.
the idea for that. It's probably
too.
possible that the 360 game,
Metal Gear Solid 5 is
was
also cross-generational, right? Yeah.
he didn't mention Animal Crossing.
He thinks it'll end with Animal Crossing focused treehouse presentation. Of course, we'll get Link's Awakening details. And he thinks Pikmin 3 and Wind Waker HD will be announced for Switch. Which I never played Pikmin 3.
Pikmin 3 is
I
great.
liked it a lot.
Yeah, I didn't play
That was a
Pikmin
fun
either.
game. Pikmin DS was not good.
3 was the Wii U game?
Yeah.
All the Pikmin games.
Why
are
not
so
just do
fun.
a just,
That'd
they
be a
should just do a
collection, too.
Pikmin trilogy at this point?
That'd be a great collection, and
Agreed.
somehow tie them together.
Dude, the Pikmin franchise, underrated.
Yeah, it's good.
It would work great on Switch too. There's no reason not to do it.
There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Those are your predictions, your yearly predictions from Neil in Spain.
Sony, don't worry about it.
I mean, Sony's not there.
Oh, good point. Silly.
So, yeah.
Did you fact check his previous ones? Have you actually looked back
Good point.
at the years?
Maybe
I didn't.
I feel like he should be doing that.
But he says if you watch previous years, you'll see I was right with many of my predictions. So, there you go.
There we go.
nice.
You don't have to fact check when other people do it for you.
Take it as word
Frequently
for it.
not
There you
wrong.
go. Yeah. Accurate.
This is Justin in New York City.
Not me.
Not Justin.
Although sometimes you go to New York City.
That's true. I did not. I can only write into the show when I'm there.
He wants to know if we ever feel guilty for not taking proper care of our gaming consoles. He says, the other day I was cleaning my PlayStation 4. After a long period of neglect, I'd never done that. And I started thinking about how irresponsible I was with my consoles as a kid. When I was much younger, I didn't care about dust or overheating or even putting my console in a well-ventilated area. I would sometimes leave my GameCube or PS2 on for multiple days because I didn't have an available memory card.
I love that.
Never stopped to consider the possible long-term effects. Of course, this resulted in my consoles dying on me more often than I would have liked, and as a result, I became more aware of how important it is to maintain my gaming devices. Over the years, I've made attempts to be more mindful of how I treat my consoles, especially after I got into PC gaming and realized how expensive parts can be. Now, whenever I do slack off, I end up feeling extremely guilty. Have any of you ever struggled with maintaining proper care of your consoles? What were your gaming habits like as a kid or teenager, and have they changed over time?
You pick good questions for this
Yeah,
show.
these are great.
Thank you.
I can lean into this one. It was
Lean in.
Lean in.
That's my advice to you.
It was not really too much of an issue early on because there's a lot of top-loading stuff. So it's funny, you'd always have the console outside of a cabinet, whereas now, when was the last time you've installed your PlayStation or Xbox or whatever in that space that it can barely fit? And then when you go to move it, it's
filthy.
It's filthy. And to the point where you're like, oh, this
That's where
thing
the cat hair
broke.
goes.
Yeah, this thing broke. Why? And then you look and all the vents are covered. That's happened to me once. I actually blew a power supply.
Wow.
Really?
Yeah, Xbox 360.
I have, when I was a kid, I know this will come as a shock. I was an idiot.
Okay.
And I had an NES.
It didn't seem like it came as a shock.
Yeah. I was sort of waiting for,
Except that
you're like, yeah, continue. We know.
all kids are idiots.
I was playing, I think it was Metroid 1. And, my mom's screaming at me because I got to go to a band concert or like whatever it was. I don't remember the specifics. And I didn't have a password. I didn't have a piece of paper to write down my my save. To save your game, it came with a password code. And so I had a pencil and I wrote the code on top of my NES.
Yeah, that's great. I've bought
permanent
old consoles with that on.
marker?
No, it was just with a pencil, but like the graphite etching, like you can still on my
scratching it
NES to
in.
this day, you can still see just the remnants of like some of the letters.
What
and
game
numbers.
was it?
Metroid.
You know,
And I think it's like a 20-digit
I
code.
think in the back of the manual, there's space for you to write down codes.
Exactly.
I will
that book.
refer you to how I opened this anecdote.
No kids kept their manuals.
Yeah,
I got
lost
all my
that.
I get old consoles. Whenever I'm looking at them, a couple things happen. A lot of times there's stickers on them.
Yep.
That's like a funny thing. I like that. Writing is really common. I don't know why on NESs people were writing on them.
I wasn't.
It seems
That's
weird.
crazy.
But like even when you buy old records, like parents always like made their kids write their names on their records. So when they took them to their houses, they would like not lose them. And that happened with NES games too. But the consoles I still don't get.
No,
A lot of games you get with that. And then the best thing is when I'm opening them up to like you can restore them by putting in this new 72-pin connector, right? Every time I open them up, there's something funny in there. And it's usually just like a code of root beer or like somehow intact Cheetos.
Yeah.
Like, why is there no
Whoa.
creature on Earth that's eating these that's on the microscopic level, Great.
I think
they're
A lot of times-
preservatives.
Yeah,
It's
a lot
just
of times
there.
you like are rattling it, like there's something in there. What is it?
Yeah.
It's usually a penny.
Is it ever drugs?
No, not inside an NES. But how
Cheetos?
smart is that? Because you push it down and it's like all safe, out of sight.
Yeah. Oh man.
I don't think I've ever cleaned a game console in my life.
What about that first week? When you get a
Yeah.
game console and it looks so good, there's no dust, it's shiny. I always put it on top of something then.
Same.
And then I pop
Yeah.
it.
That's I have this moment of, it's not quite sadness. I don't quite have a word for it, but like there's a moment where a console stops feeling new.
Yes.
And it lasts more than like a week for me. Like, but for like a year or so, like the PlayStation 4 is like the new thing, like the new shiny thing. But then at some point your attitude sort of shifts.
Becomes mundane.
And now it's just like, bleh, like they just toss the PS4
You even treat it
wherever.
more fragilely when
Yeah.
in that new region because
Yes.
you're like, this is a really expensive piece of
For
equipment.
sure. And then at some point, it's the same with phones, right? Like your new phone, it's like this awesome new thing
Yeah.
for like a little while, then you stop caring.
The first time it falls face down on the ground,
You're like, no. But you're also bringing up a good point. So glossy or matte? What's the
100%
best
matte.
finish?
Matte.
I mean,
Right,
glossy
but-
looks nicer until there are fingerprints
The
on it.
thing,
Which
right?
is the moment one.
Yeah, I know.
But that's the reason you always use compressed air rather than cleaning it. Because the moment you rub something on it, like this desk is kind of like I
You use
purchased those
Novus
desks.
and microfiber on this, just
That's
like you do
right,
on a pinball
because
playfield.
you have to make sure that you're not leaving streaks or any scratches on it. So
Not
then,
going to
like,
miss this desk.
Yeah, I mean,
It doesn't flip.
miss it. But I think a concern more now with the way consoles are, especially with venting. Like I literally did have an Xbox that exploded almost because of the power supply was external and it got caught with a bunch of like
just
dust in the
lint
back.
in it and
Just
stuff?
lint and
That is
dust.
a
You have
more
kids.
recent
And then-
consideration.
exactly.
In my household, I'm not allowed to keep game consoles on top of the entertainment center. They have
Yeah.
to go inside in the shelves. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mine are all hidden away too.
This is Robert from Florida. He wants to know how we choose our favorite games.
Ooh.
He says, I've been listening to GameScoop for about 3 years. Notice that whenever someone is on the show for the first time, you ask what their favorite game is. When you ask, I try to answer for myself, and I usually pick a different game based on a variety of factors. I'd like to have a concrete answer, but cannot determine the best way to decide. Can the Omega Cops provide a solution? Should I choose based on amount of time I've spent beating the game? That honor would go to Super Mario World. Should I go with the game that consumed me the most upon release? Skyrim would earn that badge. Then I think of the pure joy I felt playing recent games such as Breath of the Wild, Witcher 3, and God of War. Any advice? How do the counselors of Goose Camp pick their favorite games?
I mean, it's not rational. It's completely irrational. It's like I pick my favorite game with my heart.
Yeah.
I don't know how else. Like Super Metroid will forever be my favorite game because it doesn't matter how amazing a game coming out this year is. I didn't play it when I was like 13 years old, so that's
so
it.
nostalgia is a big part of it for you.
Yeah, for sure.
absolutely.
That's a mountain that no game is ever going to be able to climb.
I waited for music to start playing when you say that. I was like waiting.
Yeah.
To pick it with my heart. I was
Yeah.
like, cue the music, Dan. It's like we're right there. But
I think he
that's
left
true.
out one crucial consideration, which is trolling your friends. You always got to pick something
That's why I make kids.
that everybody. Yes, exactly.
or sneak
What
it.
do
I
they
rest
call,
my case.
What do they call kids in Canada?
I'm not sure.
And then in this office, I feel like probably 50% of people's favorite games are just a troll.
I mean,
And we ask it all the time in this
you
office.
do, yeah. I mean, you're the one who usually asks it. I mean, that's interesting from criteria standpoint. You don't ever ask. You don't do the follow up and go why. And if you did, I would say that.
Because when people answer Halo 3, I just dismiss them.
And I was wondering because I know a few people
No,
would
I
say
actually really
shooter
like Halo
games.
3. That's one of my
Halo
favorite
3
games.
was one of the best Halo games. I always say Link to the Past, and it is because of nostalgia, but it's also because of everything that game achieved at the time when it was out. I still don't think anything from like gameplay and story and just the way it even excelled the
Story?
franchise.
What
Yeah.
game are you talking about?
Tell
Link
me
to
the
the Past.
story of what happens in Link to the
Link to the
Past.
Past?
The Past totally has a good story.
What are you talking about?
What's the story?
So what are some twists and turns?
No, well, so
that's an honest question.
well,
You
here's
rescue
thing.
the princess. You wake up.
Always.
Your uncle has been.
Yeah, so that moment, the first 10 minutes of Link to the Past, like as a story, when you're being spoken to, you don't know what's happening, you're in the middle of the dark. Yeah, but it has that sense of discovery when you're walking through. Yeah, your uncle's
It's
there with the
raining,
sword.
this
It's
amazing
raining.
rain.
The sound effects. Sam, are you kidding me
No,
right now?
it's like
Would
I'm
you
listening to Homer. I'm like I'm listening to the Bard himself speak.
Would you believe?
Bill Shakespeare is here in the
Stop
room.
that.
CJ, would you believe a reviewer at EGM thought A Link to the Past was an 8?
No.
And that when they reviewed A Link to the Past in the March 1992 edition, they didn't even mention it on the front cover.
Like, see,
Adventure Island was. Like,
the anticipation leading up for that game. I watched a commercial a little while ago. Do you remember there was a commercial? I didn't even know that Paul Rudd was in the
Yeah,
commercial.
there's some rap in one of the commercials.
It's crazy,
Well,
but
that's
when
the original Zelda.
yeah,
Oh, it is?
yeah, but when you
The Legend
saw
of Zelda,
Link
and it's
cast,
pretty bad. No, wait, really rad. Those creatures from Ganon are really bad. Octoroks. I don't
know.
Yeah. Anyway.
to me, a lot of those things. Yeah, the nostalgia plays a huge part, and I don't know if you're trolling me right now or not because it feels
100%
like you are.
yeah.
I feel like that game is pretty respectable for a best game of all time choice.
Yeah, it's really
respectable.
common.
And it's and honestly, I've never played another game that quite resonated with me. Again, I think you do have nostalgic feelings as a kid when you played them
probably
young.
time for me to. I think it's been 5 years since I've really done any self-reflection and made
That's
like
what-
my favorite games of all time list.
I was thinking about that for the longest time. When people asked me that question, I would say Mario 64. Yeah. But it was just a reflex. To be honest, I haven't played that game in 20 years.
Yeah.
So it's like, well, when I think about games that I have played recently that I can say are my favorite games of all time, Symphony of the Night, Donkey Kong 94, Shadowgate on the NES because they re-released it a couple years ago. Yeah, these are games that I always thought were some
I
of my
just want to
favorite
point out, he
games.
said Donkey Kong 94.
94.
Yeah.
Not Donkey Kong 64.
No.
Yeah,
That is right.
exactly.
Donkey Kong 94.
yeah.
Game
A
Boy
perfect
Classic.
game. It is a perfect game. So, going forward, I'm going to try to, answer with a game that I have actually played fairly recently that I know I still enjoy today. But I think another part of it is when someone asks you that question, they want your answer to be a game that they know and love too, so that they can talk about it. And if it's something like that they've never heard of, they're always just kind of like disappointed.
It's a validation of like their opinion and taste in games. If you agree, if you connect on that, but it's also just a reflection of something about their personality. Like it's a little bit of a litmus test of like, what era of games did you grow up with and what are you into?
So definitely that. I think that's a weird thing when, we've hired a bunch of new people here in the office who are much younger.
Yeah,
when
their favorite game is always Undertale.
Yeah.
It's not a joke.
Wait, stop that. When they
It's not a joke. There's several people that you work with that you respect whose favorite game is Undertale.
Please name them.
Miranda Sanchez.
Okay. Well, how many other people besides Miranda?
I'm not going to keep naming people.
All I'm saying is, I think that the fact that their first systems were like,
PS2.
Yeah,
maybe.
PS2 and N64 and all the rest of that stuff. It's crazy that they didn't have like the foundation of gaming at the core because games were very new in that space, right?
Now they can play Turok on their Nintendo Switch.
But when you play Turok now versus when you played it 20 years ago, there's a different feeling.
We made a list. It's been years. It's been like 6 years, but we had all the editors write articles about their favorite games at IGN. All the three of us did it. I don't think you were quite here yet.
Sam did like hundreds of games.
And you did
my
400.
top 400, which I need to update.
At that time, the newest game on my list was Uncharted 2. Like as far as AAA action adventure games go, like it's the pinnacle.
That's a good
but
game.
like games like The Witness and Breath of the Wild have come out since. And so now I'm like, might be time to shake that list up a little bit.
Yeah, I remember at that time it was like Portal 2 and Mass Effect 2 were also pretty new. And
those are big up there for me.
And it's like there's games that I love, but they don't necessarily have to crack into that, that best of all time category.
Yeah.
But there's been some games, there's been some real bangers over the last few years that
Like Solid 5 came out since then.
To me, I think the question is, I think that's the reason why have you played GoldenEye since? You played Turok and even
I didn't play GoldenEye back in the day.
Okay, wow.
I played Perfect Dark.
Remember they remade Turok, or they remade GoldenEye in like 2010.
It wasn't the same.
Exactly, and it wasn't the same. And I think when you play it at the time it's released versus when you play it, obviously 20 years later or 10 years later, different feeling. That's my question. Is like games now, what will it be like in 10 years? Like I think Uncharted still holds up well, the first Uncharted, and there's a couple other games, but I think that's the big question with all these new games. Will they seem like they're distinguished 20 years later? And I think God of War will be on PlayStation.
But that doesn't matter for your personal favorite game.
Yeah, I was going to say,
it doesn't. Yeah.
GoldenEye is not fun.
best.
Like, it's not fun. It's not good today in
Yeah,
2019. Like, that
And
game
I
runs
love
at like
that
12
game.
FPS, but like, that doesn't take away from
what it
like,
was at the
I
time.
played that game for 100 hours with my friends
Yeah.
every single night. And like, the fact that through the lens of time, I played it 100 hours a night. Look it up. Like, just because it doesn't hold up in a modern context doesn't change. Like, I still had that fun with it. That fun still exists in my memory.
True.
I feel that way about Rock Band.
Yeah. And I think
One of the best experiences in my life was playing Rock Band with friends.
yeah, and Guitar
In
Hero 2.
spite of the fact that they never made Rock Band Dolly Parton.
Yeah.
It was all Rock
Yeah.
Band Green Day, though,
Yeah.
for Sam, which is weird.
yeah. I think it's weird though when you go back. I think there needs to be a
That's why I call him
criteria.
Sam Dookie Claiborne.
There needs to be a criteria within there. I think you're right. When you judge somebody and you go, "Oh, have you played that game lately?" It's a factor. Like that when it's your favorite game of all time, you're like, "Oh, when was the last time you played it?" Well, 20 years ago is my favorite game. It's like, well,
Whatever, man.
I don't know. I mean, to me, you don't think that factors in?
I don't play Super Metroid that much.
Favorite game of all time?
Yeah,
Okay,
it's fine.
It's an emotional response.
Yeah.
For
Fair.
Justin. Yeah.
that's fair. I
It'd
still
be
think
weird
that game
if your
holds
favorite
up,
game
though.
was hard to go back to and play. That is.
But that's my point, right? Like Zelda's not
I don't
like
think
Link.
Super Metroid is.
No, Super Metroid stands up. So does Link to the Past and all the games that we like.
Link to the Past. 8.0.
I can't even. I when people ask me, I just can't even name my favorite game. Like it's like always a tie.
Yeah.
It sucks.
It is tough. And that brings us to Video Game 20 Questions. If you remember way back to Justin in New York City, who asked us about how we take care of our gaming consoles, he also provides this week's game for 20 Questions.
Doubleheader.
Justin in New York City. Let the questioning begin.
Does this game take place in what we would all agree is like the real world? Is this somewhere on Earth?
Yes.
That's a new
Gotham City is not a real place.
one. Does he wear a hat?
That will not be an issue for this round of 20 questions.
Did this game come out on cartridge?
Yes.
It's a Switch cartridge.
Yeah, I know.
That's what makes it so
Trickster
great.
God Hatfield.
Exactly.
Cartridges this whole time.
I'm
The cartridge was inside us all along.
just gonna still lean into the most direct ones. And is this a Nintendo franchise character?
Whoa.
Hold on. Try it again.
Is this was this game released on a Nintendo platform?
That's a completely different question.
Let's just go there. See, yeah, he
If
paused.
this game was ever released on a Nintendo platform, it's certainly not known for that.
Okay.
Wow. I was like, it had some porting.
Exactly. I get the ums with Damon.
Is this
good.
game from before 2000?
Yes.
Is this game from before 1990?
Yes. That's 5.
Boy.
Okay, so cartridge.
That's good. That means Sam can contribute meaningfully.
Yeah, seriously.
What I think is funny is that you work here, like you keep up with all the modern games, but somehow that knowledge is just not in your brain the same way that like.
Is did this come out in arcades
Yes.
before 1983?
Yes.
Okay, good. We're totally gonna get this.
Well, there's definitely fewer games.
Yeah,
to
exactly.
work with.
Was this game developed in the United States?
Yes.
Most of them were, but
Yeah. Did this game have a joystick?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Every Atari game doesn't have a joystick.
I hear what
except
you're
for Dig
saying.
Dug, basically.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. This is a multiplayer game.
Is it a multiplayer game?
Yes.
Can you name a multiplayer game from before-
Arcade?
All right.
Yeah.
You can alternate turns.
Okay.
oh,
That's 10.
that was very nice. of you.
Okay.
Developed in America. Is this an Atari game?
No.
I mean, okay. So, well, that does make it a little bit weird.
Would you ask if it had a remote?
If it has a joystick?
Joystick.
Who made Asteroids?
Atari.
Atari
Doesn't
made
have a
Asteroids.
joystick either.
What about
Fender, though. So is
yeah,
this made by
this is-
Williams?
It's not. No, it is not made by
Oh,
Williams.
published by Williams.
all right. Yeah. So,
So it'd be Midway or Bally or
yeah.
Namco.
Yeah.
Could be Miss Pac-Man.
I was gonna say Miss Pac-Man's where my head's at because that's a very tricky one.
Yeah, this is
Japanese game, but Miss Pac-Man was made in America. Also, Miss Pac-Man's secretly the good one.
Is this game a sequel?
No.
There you go. Good question though.
Hmm.
Galaxian.
That was developed in Japan.
Do you want to try to isolate like what the
Was Centipede's
yeah
Atari,
like if
right?
you have a character like or like what your main
It takes place on
primary
Earth, don't forget.
character is.
Yeah.
Place on Earth.
Takes place on Earth, so it's not Moon Patrol.
No.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Explicitly.
Yeah, exactly. No
Title.
Moon Patrol.
What could it be like Rampart?
No.
But it doesn't have multiplayer.
No multiplayer.
So-
no asteroids. That's what I mean. Like,
But you take turns. It's got
Sorry.
you alternate.
that's
Williams
like-
games include Bubbles, Robotron.
Is
Um,
Robotron on Earth?
yeah. Sinistar.
Sinistar is not on Earth.
Robotron is, but it's not. It's
Sinistar
like
is the one where
future
you're shooting up
Earth.
the face, right?
Yeah. Does this have more than one joystick?
Yes.
Oh shit.
But it's not. Okay,
It's
so it's not
Robotron.
Molly. Yeah,
It's probably Robotron.
not. Okay.
Or Bubbles.
Well, what's the qualifying question?
Well, it might not be either of those.
Are
but it'd be
you
fun
you
to-
shooting up robots in this game?
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Just hella robots.
Does this game take place around 2084? Maybe exactly in 2084.
It does.
Okay. We should have used all these questions.
Yeah,
It's Robotron
exactly.
2084.
It is
There we go.
Robotron
Yeah.
2084. 1982.
Lovely job.
Developed by. Do you know who developed it?
Williams developed that game.
No. Two guys. Whoever developed Defender left.
Eugene Jarvis.
Formed a studio named Vid Kids, and then Williams
Vid
Vid
Kids.
Kids, and
Wow.
then Williams published the game.
Gotcha.
And I think
Damn.
Robotron is the only game under the Vid Kids
All right.
label.
Sure.
That knowledge,
Robotron
Sam.
is still very playable.
Robotron is very fun, and Justin, Rampart is a trackball game. Wouldn't have counted here.
Gotcha.
I played.
It's fun.
My local grocery store had Robotron, and I played it there. But then also,
That's so cool.
My neighbor who had an Atari 7800 had it for that, and you could both play with two joysticks, with one person moving with the player and the other person shooting.
Gotcha.
And we played tons of Robotron.
Was the idea for that you could somehow play Robotron with both joysticks? I mean,
You'd have to really like anchor.
yeah, you'd have
those
to get like a vice or a C clamp. And
Yeah, exactly.
clamp
Yeah.
them down.
Yeah.
Man.
That'd be pretty cool.
But it was fun for one person to
Plus,
move and one person
Atari
to shoot.
7800, it must have looked looked good too.
Well, I'm sure it was a 2600 cart. 7800 had backwards compatibility.
Oh, okay. 7800 was like after the NES, though. How weird is that?
Yeah.
Explore some of those
crazy.
games.
We played that. We played Food Fight.
Yeah.
We played Jordan versus Bird 1-on-1.
Oh,
We played Joust. There are lots of really good games. There's a game, Chopper Command, I want to say. Is that the Atari helicopter game?
That rings a bell, but
Sideways
Choplifter.
one? Yeah,
is
Choplifter.
really-
Yeah.
It's not
It's
Choplifter,
not
though. It's
Choplifter.
a more basic helicopter.
Do you pick up POWs?
I don't think so. I think you just shoot.
Is that Choplifter when you pick up
Yeah.
Choplifter is
POWs?
where you got to
on
pick
the
up.
side. That was
Yeah.
Atari, right?
That game, I love that game.
That was
Yeah,
so
it's
good.
such a cool
It
idea.
looked good.
Yeah,
too
it was
at
a
the
good
time.
idea, and like it just felt like a really you could freely move, so it just felt different, like
you-
Defender, but
Great,
less stress.
great movement in those games.
Yeah,
Lots like just a lot of those old games.
You
had
could go
really wonderful
left.
movement.
You go
I loved
left.
any game that had little people in it, like Rampage.
Yeah.
It's full of little people. Even like Defender.
Yeah.
The aliens would pick up little humans, and then if you shot the ship, the human would fall.
Yep.
I loved any game that had little people in it. It's really good. Thank you for the suggestion, Justin in New York City. That is all the scoops that we had for you this week. Look at how perfectly I've timed. 1 hour.
Nicely done.
You better vamp for 25 seconds.
Well,
The
but,
dot.
but we don't know how long we were talking about Apollo
That's true.
13.
We were
before
talking about Apollo 13 for a good
He rolled after.
couple minutes
the
right
most
there
part,
at the
but-
beginning. Listeners, remember you can always reach us at the email address gamescoop@ign.com. Thank you, Justin. Thank you, Sam. Thank you, CJ.
Thanks, man.
Thank you, Dan in the booth. I can't draw this out for 15 seconds. So, my name is Damon. This is IGN Gamescoop. We're out.